Hello class, welcome to the end of week 2 for Comp 1 online. As you can see, I've been hard at work on my basement here, almost done. Place was a mess yesterday, which is why I didn't do a video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about really two or three things. The first is your thesis statement in your essay. The second is organizing your essay by using an outline. And lastly, I'll discuss a little bit about the reading, in particular Mark Twain's story. A thesis statement sums up the main point of your entire essay. It's one sentence long, no longer. Think of it kind of like a summary of a movie that you might look at on Comcast or Verizon or in the old TV guides. A brief one sentence summary of what it's going to be about. A good thesis statement includes your position on the article or issue you have selected, and it really is pretty precise. Let's say I want to write an essay on Facebook. Is Facebook a good thesis statement? No, it doesn't put my position on Facebook. It doesn't say anything other than I'm going to write about Facebook. And the problem with this type of thesis statement is there's so many things I could write about. For example, I could give the history of Mark Zuckerberg, who created Facebook. I could talk about how I found out about Facebook. I could talk about the ethical concerns of Facebook, and there are many. Or I could talk about my own experience with Facebook and how it has connected me with other people. So an appropriate thesis statement for Facebook would be, Facebook is a social media networking site that has allowed me to connect with friends and family from all over the world that I would not ordinarily meet. That tells you what I'm going to be writing about, tells you what to expect in my essay. It's very, very tight, if you will, and allows me room for writing a 3 to 4 page essay about it. Now, you want to make sure that your thesis statement is not so narrow that you can't write anything more than a page about it. And it really varies on the topic. If I wanted to write about how I got introduced to Facebook, that might be a very narrow topic because I heard about it back in 2004, 2005 when it first came out, and then finally when I joined, I believe in 2008. So you want to make sure that you have a narrow thesis statement, but not so narrow that you can't write anything about it, but not so broad that you can really write a book about it. Now, once you have your thesis statement, you need to choose an appropriate method of organization for your essay. You do that by selecting one of two ways. One, you can write in chronological order, or you can write in something what we call out of order, or flashback method. Chronological order basically means you're going to write your essay from start, when the event happened, to the end, and obviously you'll think about how this has changed you. If I were to write about how Facebook has impacted my life and allowed me to connect with friends and family from all over the world, I might talk about my friend Sarah, who I had known since I was in kindergarten, who was my first friend that I added on Facebook. I might talk about how I met other friends and family on Facebook, and I might wrap that up with how it really changed me. The second way is out of order. I might talk about current uses of Facebook, how I use Facebook now, maybe go back to the beginning and show why I joined Facebook, and lastly finish up with how I met some of my friends and family online. The third is flashback, where you start from the end and you really kind of think back to how you got there. A great example of that is the film The Pirates of Silicon Valley, which talks about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and how they created their empires. Starts off with Steve Wozniak, who was a co-founder of Apple with Steve Jobs, saying, how do we get there from here? And in the introduction, talking about standing on the stage with Steve Jobs standing on the stage with Bill Gates, talking about their merger. Apple and Microsoft merged for a long time. I don't know if they still are together. So that's a flashback one. So those are three methods of organization that will really help you when you're writing your essay. Now that you've chosen a particular organization format, now you move on to creating an outline. Trust me, an outline will save you plenty of time. An outline is basically how you're going to write your essay. Start off with your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. And then you go back in and you fill in the gaps there. What are you going to include in your introduction? You might start off with a narrative story of how you started off using Facebook. If you're using the flashback one, I might talk about my current uses of Facebook. Your body, same idea. Your conclusion, you'll be wrapping it up and showing how this impacted you or however. Outlines are really important. Trust me when I say this. I have had students tell me, I don't need an outline. I've read their essay. Yes, you do. It will save you a lot of time. And as we get deeper and deeper into the class, especially when you write essay 2 and 3, you will actually be required to submit an outline. I'm not trying to say that to make you suffer. I'm trying to say that because this is a very important aspect of writing. And I've been there. I've had essays that I've written with very little organization. Why? Because I didn't use an outline. And I've been writing for many, many years, writing short stories and etc. In fact, I even have, I don't know if you can see it here. See this bookcase here? Those are all my science fiction stories, non-fiction stories, essays, poems that I have written in the last 20 years. Actually 21 years now. Over 20,000 pages. And one of my friends lost a hard drive, which caused me to lose another 20,000 pages. That's about half of what I've written all my life. But a lot of these stories that I wrote, not very organized. Why? Because I didn't use an outline. Now that does not mean, that everything you write will need an outline. But it's a good starting point. Think about your day-to-day routine. How many times have you forgotten to do something? If you had an outline for your day, a to-do list, you could make sure that everything was done on time, right? Okay. Now I'm going to talk in particular about the second story that you're reading. You're also going to be reading Frederick Douglass's Resurrection story. Excuse me. Do not worry about reading The Habs by Verge, which is on page 105 to 110 in Essay Connection. It's a dreadful story. I don't really like it, but it was part of the syllabus. But I want to make sure that you do read Uncle John's Farm and Resurrection by Douglass. Uncle John's Farm is kind of a reflective story where the main narrator, if you will, Mark Twain, looks back on his life. Be careful in the part where he's talking about all the food that he remembers. I actually had to go out and get a burger after finishing that part. But he talks about his experiences as a youth, looking back, things that he learned, mistakes that he made. Hindsight is 2020, and it's only after we've started getting to where we want to be that we're allowed the luxury of looking back and seeing those events that really shaped our lives. I say luxury because we don't, sometimes some of us don't even think about looking back and reflecting on, where we are and where we've been. It's important. That doesn't mean we live in the past. It's just important to take a look at where you've been and what you've learned. Okay. Now next week I'm going to be sending out another video and I'm discuss the requirements for Essay 1. I promise you I will attach the the requirements for that. Some of you have already sent in Essay 1, and while I'm very happy that you guys have gotten involved with it, I haven't not read it yet. I want to hold off because you'll be writing a rough draft, and there are certain requirements for this and things that I want to see you include. Okay. So I hope you enjoy your weekend. Remember that the assignments for week 2 are due by Saturday. Now, some of you have just gotten your books, and I understand that. Please get me the assignment for week 1 as quickly as possible, because tomorrow I'm going to be doing the class list, if you will. I'm actually going to be crossing out names that I've never seen, people who I haven't heard from, or whom I have not received an assignment yet from. And this can have some severe impact on your grade. So please get those to me. Have a good night. Enjoy.